Junko Furuta was a Japanese student born on November 22, 1962. At 16, she was very beautiful and very intelligent, which made her the center of attention of everyone around her. Most of the boys in the school wanted to approach her and talk to her, even for 5 minutes. But she was very committed and morally disciplined. She rejected any attempt to approach her. She had turned 17 2 days ago, young, beautiful, and intelligent. Junko was the kind of girl who turned heads wherever she went. She was not only admired, but also desired. But Junko was not like other girls, and that was her mistake. Because Hiroshi Miyano, one of the most intimidating boys in the school, had noticed her. He walked with a pride, the kind that comes from not hearing the word no, until Junko rejected Hiroshi. No, a simple, harmless word, but not to Hiroshi. To Hiroshi, it was an insult that needed to be punished. November 25, 1988. Junko was walking home as usual, unaware that everything would change tonight. Hiroshi had planned it perfectly. One of his followers, Shinji Minato, was waiting for her. As the girl passed by, the boy attacked. Junko barely had time to react before she was pushed to the ground. Her books spilled onto the sidewalk and she gasped in terror. Then, footsteps. A voice. "Are you okay?" She looked up. Hiroshi stood over her, concern etched on his face. "That was awful," he said. "Let me take you home." Junko hesitated, her instincts screaming at her to run. But she was a good girl who had grown to trust people. And Hiroshi, despite his frame, had just saved her. Or so she thought. He didn't take her home. He led her into the darkness. The house was in Odaki, Tokyo. To outsiders, the house looked like any other, a quiet suburban residence owned by the Minato family. But inside, it was a place of nightmare. Junko was thrown to the ground, surrounded by 4 boys. They laughed as she trembled. They took turns, over and over. First, she screamed. Then, she stopped. Because she realized something heartbreaking. No one was coming to save her. For 44 days, Junko wasn't just a prisoner. She was tortured. She was raped more than 400 times. She was beaten with metal rods. She was burned with cigarettes. She was cut with broken bottles. They urinated on her, starved her, humiliated her. She was no longer a person to them. She was an object, something to be used and thrown away. Junko stopped eating. She was too weak to move. Her legs were broken with dumbbells. Her bones were broken. One night, she tried to escape. When the boys weren't looking, she reached for the phone. Hope rippled through her battered body. She dialed. The color of the line. Then, they took her. Hiroshi snatched the phone from her hands. As punishment, they tore her nails. He whispered, his breath hot in her ear. "You can't go. and she believed him. January 4, 1989. Junko's body was shutting down. She had infections, internal bleeding, and deep burns that had peeled off her skin. She couldn't cry anymore. That night, the boys tried one final game. They set her feet on fire. The boys laughed as she cried. But this time, something was different. She didn't scream. She didn't move. She was already gone. They had killed her. And then, what did they do? They went out for drinks. The next day, they stuffed her body into a 55-gallon drum, poured concrete over her, and dumped her like garbage. They thought they had won. They thought no one would find her. They were wrong. A month later, the police arrested Hiroshi for another crime. During the interrogation, one of the officers casually mentioned the missing girl. Hiroshi said, "We killed her before." That was all it took. Within days, the police found the concrete drum. They tore it open. Inside, they found the broken body of Junko Furuta. The world recoiled in horror. The newspapers called it the worst crime in Japanese history. But the real horror, monsters walked free. They destroyed her life, and the world let them go.